Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday Wisdom session today. I'm Ahmad, the Membership Engagement Manager at the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome you to today's Wednesday Wisdom. So today we'll be talking about how to create a great resume and then get you the information needed on how to register for the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair, which is coming up on December 15th. And it'll be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you'll have the opportunity to engage with over 75 local Luzerne County employers. Our Wednesday Wisdom sessions is a series of webinars focused on delivering relevant information to the community and support business connectivity and sustainability in our region. So I just want to let you guys know this is being live streamed on Facebook, and we'll have a recording of it on our YouTube pages as well. Also, our friends at PA CareerLink will have it on their virtual resource center for you to get access to all this content and the information to help you have the perfect resume as you're applying for those opportunities that are available locally here in Luzerne County. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and include in the chat box on our Facebook page. We'll keep a lookout for them and ask them to our presenters today. And so I just want to get into the topic here today. We will be helping you, job seekers, will learn how to create a great resume by using formatting tips such as how to best develop your professional profile or summary skills and add frame to your work experience. Our presenter today is our very own, not our very own, he's like our very own, but Anthony Melf, project coordinator of the PA CareerLink Luzerne County, who helps execute grant-funded special projects to support our local workforce in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Anthony also serves as the co-chair of the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals Network and volunteers with many local nonprofits. So Anthony, the stage is yours.
Thank you so very much, Ahmad. Good afternoon to all of our friends who are watching on Facebook Live. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all today. As Ahmad said, I do feel like a part of the Chamber family as an ambassador and vice chair with the Young Professionals Council and just all the great work that the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce does. I want to first, though, introduce my colleague who you'll be hearing more from next week. I am joined by the one and only Brittany Budman. So Brittany, if you just want to say hello and share a little bit about who you are and what you do at the PA CareerLink.
Hello, thank you, Anthony. I am a career navigator at the CareerLink. I also head the virtual workshops that we currently do every week.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. You will be hearing more from Brittany next Wednesday, December 9th, right here on Wednesday Wisdom as to how to ace your next interview. But without further ado, I'll just share a little bit more about what PA CareerLink is for those who don't know, and then we'll get into our topic this week. So the PA CareerLink office is a core component of the public workforce system. In a nutshell, there are federal dollars that are distributed nationwide to each state to provide services to job seekers and employers in each of our communities to better enable them to find the right match for job seekers and for employers to hire the appropriate talent for their positions. And so in our area, we're in a Luzerne Schuylkill workforce area, and we have 3 different offices, Wilkes-Barre, Hazleton, and Pottsville. So for our Luzerne County watchers today, in Hazleton, we're at 75 North Laurel Street, and in Wilkes-Barre, 32 East Union Street. And we basically just try to help our job seekers with some general services. And that also includes some specialized programs like the one Brittany works for, where you can be paired with a career navigator to assist you with your job search, resume writing, perhaps go back to school if you're eligible for that program to go back for some training, some short-term training in a high priority occupation, and ideally, ultimately, job placement. For our employers, we're more than happy to work with you to promote your opportunities on the PA CareerLink website, the statewide website, pacareerlink.pa.gov. If you need any assistance with your recruitment needs, please reach out to our office. That being said, I'm sure you're all anxiously awaiting some tips to create a great resume. So I'm going to get right into it. Of course, we specifically are doing today's Wednesday Wisdom in anticipation to prepare for the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair. So if you haven't already, please register and stay on as Ahmad will be showing you how to do that. So Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair, December 15th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. that day on a special innovative VFairs event platform. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to jump right in. So for our job seekers out there, there's really never one right time to update your resume, right? It's always good to keep your resume updated. And specifically, there's a motivation here. We have Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair coming up. So we really want to make sure that we're updating our work experiences and making sure that that resume is an accurate and fair reflection of who we are as a professional. And so today we are going to share some tips and guidelines to help you do that best. It helps to sometimes know, where does your resume fit into the hiring process? So we just wanted to give you a nice little overview of how that process works and where your resume fits into it. So typically a manager identifies a hiring need, whether it's a new opportunity or someone left, right? And there's a vacancy that they have to fill, and they voice that, they relay that need to HR, their human resources department. A job description is then created and posted to what's known as an applicant tracking system, for short ATS. This is an automated system that pre-screens applications to identify the best matches for a more efficient screening, interviewing, and hiring process. So the job is then posted to job boards such as at the PA CareerLink, pacareerlink.pa.gov. The ATS system, if we redirect you to the company's website, their application system evaluates your resume for keywords, identifies the top matches. Those matches are typically phone screened, and then interviews granted to a select few, and an offer is made. When an actual person reviews your resume, they may only review it for 6 to 30 seconds, which is not very long at all. So knowing that we have such a small window of time to capture that prospective employer's attention, we want to be impactful with good formatting, the way we lay out our resume and present the content, good content, so content that's relevant to the job, the employer's needs and the position that we're applying for, and detailed information. So we want to be specific with the information we're sharing. We want to make the most of that space and be concise and to the point. Hiring managers may also look through your resume for a reason not to hire you. So in that 6 to 30 second window, in the spirit of being as efficient as possible, if there's something that really disconnects for them when they're reviewing your previous work experiences and it doesn't jive well with the position they're hiring for, that might be a reason to dismiss your resume so that they can get to the people that they really feel are the best fits. And I think that's a helpful perspective. It's not one that we normally think of when we're writing and editing our resumes, but if there is some information, something on there that's glaring, we might want to reframe it. We may want to question whether it's relevant enough to include. So keep that in mind. So speaking of applicant tracking systems, these automated tools that a lot of companies and employers are utilizing for more efficiency, why might they do that? Well, they're facing a lot of major obstacles, right? Because time is money. So let's think about this. On average, 144 people applied for each entry-level position posted. Of those people, only 35% of the candidates are actually qualified for the positions they seek, which could be because some candidates spend as little as 50 seconds reading job descriptions before they apply. That's not very many people at all. So out of 100 of those 144, let's say that would be like 35 people only qualified and 65 not. So we really want to not spend too much time on the 65 unqualified applicants, and we really want to identify those that are actually qualified. And even when the position has higher requirements in terms of education level, experience, 89 people on average apply for each professional level position. It can cost a company about $3,479 to hire a new employee. So that can be quite expensive, and that's if it works out. So sometimes, and it has happened, where someone is hired and they, you get to week 1 or within 2 weeks, and unfortunately, they don't work out. They don't show up their first day, or within a couple of weeks, it doesn't, seem to work out. And then we have to go back to the drawing board and invest more time and money to pay our staff to administer the hiring process. Over 95% of large organizations utilize applicant tracking systems, including almost all Fortune 500 companies and about 50% of mid-sized organizations. As you get to your mom and pops, your small businesses, they may not have that need because they're not seeing as many applications for the limited number of positions that they may have to fill. But for a large majority of organizations and companies, you can see why there's so much paperwork to process that an applicant tracking system that could really narrow their focus would be efficient and cost effective. So what does an applicant tracking system do? It pretty much just scans the resume for keywords that match that job description, literally match the job description, and align well with the skill set that the company is looking for someone to be in that role. And what it does is it identifies those best matches, it ranks them by relevance, and so many based on the company's preferences move forward. And it does store that data, which could be very helpful to a company. Some people like to create a virtual bench of candidates that maybe didn't get the job, but they might want to go back to. Some companies don't hold on to applications, so it all depends on their preferences. So how do we, as the average job seeker, navigate a system that we can't really see, right? So we know we have the job description, we know we have our resume. What can we do with our resume to overcome the wall, the brick wall, or this barrier that sometimes eliminates our application before we have a chance to make our case in person? Well, sometimes you might be qualified for the position, but the way you formatted your resume may have dismissed you from the system. So these are best practices. And so we want to share them with you today so that you can fly that resume over the wall as you see that little guy flying there. So one thing we can do is avoid borders. The key here is less is more. That's the name of the game. Sometimes less is more effective and better. So we want to keep a nice top to bottom layout. We don't need any boxes, borders. Placing text in headers or footers is unnecessary. Creative or fancy bullet points, we can avoid those with just some standard bullet points. Graphics and photos. You may have seen some graphics and photos on resumes, but honestly, just keep it simple. We don't need any imagery on your resume. Certainly, if you're someone who is in like the graphic design field and you want to show off your skill set, maybe if you know your resume is getting into the hands of someone who's actually reviewing it, you can impress them then. But if you're not sure, if you're submitting this into what sometimes feels like the online abyss, it's best to go with the safer method of just keeping it nice and clean with text only. Charts, tables, or text boxes, once again, we just don't want, the idea here is we want the system to read our information accurately. The system is not intuitive enough to always pull the information exactly as we wrote it or intended it. So charts, tables, text boxes sometimes distorts that information for an accurate reading. And we want to make sure that we do our best job to align with the system so we can move forward and eventually be actually in the hands of a hiring manager. Let's avoid fonts smaller than 11 point. We want to keep it legible. And I think that's a good practice too. Just if someone is reading our resume, we don't want them squinting. We want to make it easy in that 6 to 30 seconds for them to read and retain information on our candidacy. PDF files. So we're typically used to thinking of a PDF as something that protects our information, right? I send information in a PDF because I don't want to grant access to the recipient to edit that document from the way I intended it. However, in a lot of these systems, the PDF might misread as one large image. So the system doesn't do the line by line reading that it's intended to do. So we are best served by just submitting it as a Word document unless otherwise instructed. So once again, these are best practices. However, always follow the instructions. If your application specifies to submit a certain way, please always defer to the company's instructions. They will know best how they should receive it. But when in doubt, defer to these best practices for a higher likelihood or probability of navigating the system that's unknown to you. Page numbers. We really want to strive to keep our resume to one page if possible. It's not wrong to have more than one page, but I would ask yourself if you are going over one page, is it necessary? Is all of the information really concise? Have you really thought about the relevancy of the experiences that you're detailing on your resume to warrant that second page? If not, then the prospective employer is not going to appreciate having to read more than one page. In my own experience, having previewed some resumes for positions, while well-intended, a single-space, two-page document that's in block paragraph form, such as like a cover letter we received once, doesn't really serve you. You think it does, and the effort's appreciated, but when like we said, time is money, we want to be as efficient and effective as possible. Color. I love color. However, color is not something that is advised. Black and white is best. That does not mean that you can't use professional colors, maybe like a navy blue in your professional communications. However, once again, when in doubt, simple is better, less is more. We want to make sure that we know the intended audience is reading the information properly. So colors, unless you know who's receiving it, maybe it's a direct person-to-person contact, then maybe you could be creative with your colors, but try to just steer clear of going too bold with those. So once again, less is more. Here's a snapshot example of how an applicant tracking system might work. Keep in mind, as we said, every company may tailor their preferences differently so the system works best for them. But here's just a general example. Your job description here is from a company called Build Network Web Editor Build, and they detail the description for a web editor. They want someone who's smart, innovative, manage, develop, and focus a team of content editors and collaborators, collaborate closely with the sales team to maximize commercial opportunity for growth. And we have an applicant, Meredith Levinson. She has her bachelor's degree in English from the University of Vermont, and then she details her work history from there. On the left-hand side, you can see different categories that the system is tracking, comparing Meredith's resume to the job description. And ideally, each company will set targets for those categories. And depending on the target being hit, the resume may move on or be dismissed, right? So there's missing keywords and there's 10 missing keywords. Whether or not this is an accurate estimate of the missing keywords, we could look, right? We could do a line-by-line reading. You also speculate whether or not Meredith's really practice some of those tips from earlier in terms of good formatting, right? Perhaps the way she laid out her information may have distorted it, so it's not picking up on some of those keywords in the job description. So the formatting is really important, and you can just see the relationship between a resume and a job description and how important it is to not only be mindful of that job description for keywords, but why it matters to really present the information in a way that systems can read for ideal matching. Some other tips for a resume, because a resume not only that gets submitted electronically, but a resume that is in the hands of someone, right? What are some good tips in general? Well, consistent formatting, right? So that means the way I format my dates or my locations. So if I work somewhere and I say I started in January of 2020, to present, right? So are we spelling out the month of January, capital J, lowercase a, n, u, a, r, y? Are we abbreviating the month of January, capital J, lowercase a, n, period? Or are we using a numeric format, 1/2020? Whatever you choose to do is fine, just be consistent about it, right? So that like items match like items. It helps with flow. The eye can follow it more easily. It also sends the first message of how consistent and detail oriented you are, right? In your professional communication. So we want to say something about ourselves in the way that we format that information on our resume. Another example would be with cities and states, right? So we don't have to put the address of a company, but maybe I worked at the PA CareerLink in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Am I spelling out the state of Pennsylvania, capital P, lowercase e, n, n, s, y, l, v, a, n, i, a? Or am I doing the postal code, capital P, capital A? Or am I doing capital P, lowercase a, period? Same advice, right? Just choose one, be consistent when referring to other locations for previous employers. We also want to be mindful of how we say things on our resume, right? So even though we're typing it, we're writing it. Writing's another way of speaking, right? So like when I read that out loud, does it make sense? How does it sound? The way I speak with a friend or family member may be more casual. I might just say something off the cuff, whereas a resume, we really want to put thought behind our words. We want to use the space wisely. So everything you write on there should be serving you and your personal brand, creating a picture of who you are as a prospective employee. So really being mindful of how things read to someone who doesn't know you, right? They don't know you the way a family member or friend does. We want to avoid what we call FIDO words. These are overused or common words, maybe sometimes words we might refer to our favorite pet. And the idea here is that there are some adjectives or words that are so commonly used that because everybody uses them, it lowers the impact of that word. So everyone might say that they are hardworking. And so if I see the word hardworking across 15 resumes, then everyone's hardworking. It's an equalizer, neutralizes that word. But if I put a little more thought into it and I make it shine a little bit, little shimmer, a little sparkle, I can say I'm driven, I'm ambitious, I'm motivated. So we really want to identify what are those words that might be a little too common and how can I help myself stand out to a prospective employer reviewing my resume with some alternate words or phrases. Another one might be like friendly. A lot of people say they're friendly, so good interpersonal skills might serve you better. Some people, honest or trustworthy, and that seems very personal. So maybe sincere or principled. Please keep in mind, these are best practices. The words on the left in that chart instead of are not wrong to use. We're just saying they're commonly used and you'd probably be served better by using something that people don't read every day when they're looking at a resume. It helps make the same point in a little bit more of an effective way. Action verbs, action verbs, action verbs, action verbs. So when we set up our bullet points, if possible, set it up with an action verb to lead the phrase. It reads better, it's more active instead of passive, and overall would leave the employer with a better impression. If you're having trouble identifying ways to describe your previous work experiences, a great website and tool is onetonline.org. onetonline.org. It's a free website and tool where you can look up any number of jobs, right? And perhaps jobs that you've had. And it'll detail for you a summary of what the common tasks are that someone would complete as part of that job title. And if it's true for you, right? Because our resumes should be an accurate reflection of our work experiences. If it's true for you, borrow some of those words and phrases. It may spark a different way that you want to say something, and you can use that on your resume. But when possible, please use an action verb to set those up. Positive spin. We want to always have an accurate reflection of who we are in our previous work experiences, but we also are selling ourselves as a potential candidate. We're developing our personal brand. So everything should read positively. There should be no negativity on our resume. It's truthful, but it's polished, and it's putting our best foot forward. Who are you on your best day? Who are you on your best day at that job? And you want to make sure that's coming through in the way you're framing things, that you know, what excited you in your previous positions? What were some of those accomplishments that you had in those previous work experiences so that you could really pop and shine? Other tips that you can include on your resume as we move forward in a digital world, your LinkedIn profile, it really can make a difference. In the same way that an employer might Google someone, they may search for you on LinkedIn. So if you don't have a profile already, please create one on LinkedIn. You can also attend our building and maintaining a LinkedIn profile for further advice and guidance from the PA CareerLink. And that's something that you could include in your header. Update and use a professional email address. So if you have an outdated email address, such as like the Cookie Monster at AOL.com, while cute, and we all love the Cookie Monster, you probably want to revise that so people take you a little bit more seriously, such as your first and last name or a variation of your name. If that's taken, maybe a variation of your name and a number. It's just something that reads a little cleaner, and make sure it's an email that you have access to, that you can check for correspondence from the company or organization you apply to. Remove any outdated software skills. Make sure when you're listing your skills, you're using the space wisely. If it's common skills that most people in that industry or field have, then it might not serve you. So you probably don't have to list it, right? So list things that are relevant to the opportunity that you apply. You're using this resume to serve you. Remember that. There's no one size fits all here. We're tailoring our resume to do a service for us, to put our best foot forward. Remove dates from your education background unless you've graduated within the last 5 years. We just don't want to date ourselves. Our degrees, our past education as the years go on, they're important still. We want to note those academic accomplishments, but we don't necessarily want to date ourselves. We don't want to distract from the degree, right? So if it's more than 5 years ago, sometimes that, maybe makes it seem less relevant when we know it is, right? So we be mindful of that. And of course, our personal branding statement. We are getting away from listing an objective. When we have resumes with an objective, they typically just repeat the intention behind what the employer already knows, which is that I intend to find a job like the one I've applied to. And instead, we want to use that space a little bit more productively in that 6 to 30-second window, because that may be the only section that an employer reads in its entirety. So we want to make it, think elevator speech, think in 4 to 6 sentences, how can I capture who I am as a professional, key skills, key accomplishments, how would I describe myself in general as a professional, and maybe with a little specifics that are unique to me. So that's something we really want to start moving towards, just to get better use of our resume and that space. Once again, always serving you. When developing our work experience sections on the resume, in general, your work experience should consist of at least 3 to 5 jobs or the last 15 years, whichever comes first, meaning that if you had a job that was over 15 years ago, that you may not need to include it. But my caveat here is that at the end of the day, and I hope this is the one thing you take away, is that your resume serves you, right? So if there's an experience that's directly relevant to the job you're applying for, but it's 16 years ago or 18 years ago, you should still use it, right? Because you're trying to match the position in the best way possible. You're trying to show the employer why you're the most qualified person for the job. And if something you did 16, 17 years ago is helping you do that, then you should use it. So make those adjustments. But in general, this is a nice framework, 3 to 5 jobs per 15 years. If you had multiple jobs simultaneously at the same time, you do not necessarily need to list each job. Rather, list the job that is consistent with the one that you're applying for, right? So for example, maybe I'm a teacher. During the year, I'm applying for another teaching job. But while I was working as a teacher, I also took a side job, maybe serving at a restaurant. Both are, respectable lines of work. Both are different career sets, but I am specifically applying for another academic job, seeing as my previous teaching job covers the same time frame and is directly relevant to that next academic position. I don't necessarily need to list that I was serving, tables, because maybe I was doing that on the side to save up some extra funds to put in a deck over the summer or something like that. So just be mindful that you don't always have to list everything. Building your bullet points. So under each of these previous work experiences, we really want to make these bullet points work for us. Set it up with the action verb and not just say what you did, but really try to highlight the skill that you have and that was involved in completing those tasks. So why skills and not tasks? Well, tasks sometimes don't provide enough information, right? They might not utilize the key words that employers are using in their job descriptions. So we're always trying to line up with that better. Bullet points in general, 3 to 5 for each job. It should support itself and provide evidence of the work experience. So when you read a bullet point, it should always answer the question, what did you do, right? So that's the common way we develop bullet points. What did you do? It's the task at hand, but to make it pop, to make it sparkle, right? And to really read better to an employer, you can answer one, if not both of these questions too. How did you perform that task? What specific skills, equipment, knowledge was used, and or why was it beneficial to the company or employer? So once again, when you're developing a bullet point, does it say what you did? And did you answer one, if not both of these questions? How did you perform that task? What specific skills, equipment, knowledge was used, and or why was it beneficial to the company and employer? For example, I sold products to consumers. That's what I did. Why was that important? I made my sales goals every month for the company. So to answer those questions, or answer all 3 questions, utilized extensive product knowledge, is how I did it, to match customers with appropriate products and services, which is what I did, increasing profit margins, which is why it was beneficial to the company or employer. So in one bullet point, I've now answered 3 questions and said a lot more about what I have to offer and what I can do than if I just said sold products to consumers. Another way of rewriting that, which is just reordering the phrases, increased corporate profitability, which is why it was beneficial to the company or employer, by matching products and services to consumer needs, which is what I did, using extensive product knowledge, which is how I did it. Another example, ensured the cleanliness and sanitization of a 4-star hotel in keeping with corporate standards. So what did I do? I ensured the cleanliness and sanitization of a 4-star hotel. And why was that beneficial to the company or employer? Well, in keeping with corporate standards. Why does this make a difference? Well, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the job, but what it can do is, if I'm the general manager at a hotel, I now know that you not only have experience doing the job I'm hiring for, let's say as a housekeeper, but I know going in that you understand how your job affects my job. I understand that the work you do, you understand the link between that and the big picture, which I'm overseeing and responsible for. That's a good thing for me, right? That's one less thing for me to worry about. It gives me a little reassurance in that hiring decision. When you do create these bullet points, the 3 to 5 bullet points in general, under each work experience, the first bullet point really should be your best bullet point. We talked about in the beginning, 6 to 30 seconds may be the overview for a prospective employer. That means they may only read that first bullet point. So it's the thing that really stands out the most to you in your previous time at that employer and what would serve you the best for the job you're applying for. An employer at minimum will only read that, right? And so we want to make it an accomplish-based statement, which is just what we were talking about, not just saying what we did, but highlighting the skill involved behind that task. Personal branding statement. I really like the phrasing there because a resume is you developing your personal brand. When you're creating your resume, when you're creating your LinkedIn profile, it's not just about the job you have at this moment, it's about creating a brand that is all you, right? And it fits into certain industries, right? Based on your skill set, based on your education and work experience, you're packaging yourself, right? And so you have an opportunity right at the beginning, instead of an objective that just says your goal, instead, this is really saying who you are and what they're getting when they hire you. So introduce those qualifications, highlight those valuable skills, and do it in a nice way with the 4 to 6, a concise way with the 4 to 6 sentences if possible. In our last section today, I just want to talk more about the design templates. You have a lot of options available. So when we talk about building or creating a great resume, there are many different types of great resumes. There's not one right way to do a resume. They're all unique to the user or the applicant. The first template we want to share with you today is the most commonly used template. This is our chronological resume. And ironically, it's called chronological because it's the way we experiences. We list them in reverse chronological order, meaning the most recent or current job you have, and then 3 to 5 jobs back, or in the last 10 to 15 years per the advice earlier. Let's talk first though about some more common features that may appear in different design templates. At the top of your resume, you'll notice your name. So you want to list, of course, you want your name right at the top, first and last name, your city, state, and zip code. Some people do include their home address. While that is information that may be asked of you on an application, it's not necessarily required of you on your resume. Employers are trying to gauge your proximity to the position they're hiring for, right? So they can do that from your city, state, and zip code. And certainly if you're an out-of-state applicant, maybe you're watching this and you're coming to Luzerne County, we welcome you. You might include some of the information as to why you're making that move in your cover letter. But city, state, and zip code is sufficient. Phone number, make sure your phone number is current. It is active, that you can receive and accept calls, and please set up a voicemail message. If I'm calling 15 potential applicants, I have a busy day, and you do not provide me an opportunity to leave a voicemail, I may not come back to you. So please set up a short, brief, professional voicemail. You've reached, Anthony Melf at such and such, please leave a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, something along those lines. Email address we talked about, keep it professional, variation of your name. In this design template, you see the use of a summary of qualifications or a skills summary. So this is an opportunity to match those keywords in the job description, highlight skills that are relevant to the industry that you also have. They don't utilize a personal branding statement here, but that is something we're striving for in this particular example. And then the work experience, typically just the company name, the city and state the company was in. Be consistent with your formatting. Month and year to month and year, if still active. It'd be month and year that you started to, like the word present, right? And then your job title, and then 3 to 5 examples of, what you did there, not just the task at hand, but, what specific skill was behind that equipment, knowledge used, or how it was beneficial to the company or employer. We always want to list our highest level of education. So an education section is very common across all templates. Most companies have an education requirement. Whether that's fair or not, it may be a barrier. So we want to list that highest level of education or any certifications, licenses that are relevant to the position and that field and industry. And certainly if you have military background, more times than not, that should certainly play to your favor. There are a lot of veteran-friendly employers. We even highlight it in the month of November at the PA CareerLink as part of our virtual veterans employment event. So seeing that on your resume could certainly get, spark their interest. And we encourage you to do that. A different template that's not as commonly used, but certainly can be as effective, is the functional resume. So what makes a functional resume different than a chronological resume? In this example, they do utilize some different features, specifically in the skills summary, which we'll get to. But what makes it functional is that instead of framing your work experience based on where and when you were at a certain job, instead, it frames it after key skill sets. So you would identify 3 key skill areas that are relevant to your work experiences, your work history, and where you're going, what you're applying for. In this example, event coordination, office management, and computer and data entry. And then under each skill area or skill set, you are listing examples from your past work experiences to substantiate why you have that skill set, right? So as part of event coordination, I facilitated corporate events, training workshops, and seminars, created a new filing system to update information, perhaps scheduled meetings and events for management teams. I think it's important to note here that those three examples, facilitated corporate events, created a new filing system, scheduled meetings and events, may have taken place at different jobs, but we're framing it together under one skill area. That's why it's functional, right? And then lesson focus, but still need it as like a footnote or citation underneath the skills and experience section. We have your professional experience section, which is just in one line, the job title, the company name, city, state it was in the month and year to month and year you were there. And that's lesson focused. So the experiences you had at that job are being used as examples under the skill sets above it, but lesson focus is the job title, company name, location, and dates of employment. Why might someone do that? Perhaps they've had a lot of relevant experiences that predate 15 years, but they don't know what to do. This could be a nice way to capture someone was in a job maybe for 20 years, let's say, one job for 20 years. By utilizing the functional resume, they could really detail different experiences at that one job by highlighting the skill sets instead of just the 3 to 5 bullet points under a job title. Another reason someone might utilize a functional resume is if the user is changing professions. So they want to highlight the transferable skills, the skill areas that are common between the job they have and the industry they're now going to. And this may do a better job than starting off with just job titles that aren't consistent with the new industry that they're applying into. You'll also see educations listed here. And at the top is something closer to the personal branding statement. Envision a personal branding statement as being these 3 bullet points under the skills summary, but just as a paragraph. So they read kind of the same. 8 years experience as an administrative assistant, strong computer data knowledge, coordinated scheduled meetings. It's an overview, a tight overview of your experiences as a professional, skills summary, professional profile, personal branding statement, whichever you prefer. They're all related and overlap. That's a nice way and a way I would recommend opening your resume. Of course, as there's no one right way or one template that suits all, you have your chronological, your functional, and then a combination where you can pull elements from each of the different types of designs to create one that really works for you. So you have your common information at the top, you have a skill summary, which is like the personal branding statement we were talking about, dependable general office worker with more than 10 years of transferable experience, proven clerical, customer service, and communication skills in a variety of settings. Then they really want to make sure that those key skills that may match the job description are highlighted. And then what they did in this resume, which is a little different, is they listed their experience under the job title. So they called it selected skills. You might do that if you're applying for the same job, basically, like the same job title, and you really want the employer to know that you've been in that same position before. And then they do kind of the footnote with where and how long they were there. And then your educational information, of course, is important. I think that this combination could serve a lot of people well for a number of reasons, but also as an example, I worked with a gentleman who had one job for 5 years, but worked in different roles within that one job. So he broke out his work experience based on the different types of roles he had. So it had one main heading and then each of the roles. And that felt like it did him more justice in capturing the breadth of his experience at the one site and employer. When do I make changes to my resume? In closing, well, we do advise that entire resumes don't have to be altered each time you submit a new job application. You could, right? You could tailor your resume to the job description for best results, but we do caution against that only because while you can do it effectively, be careful not to make changes that you end up having mistakes on your resume or errors. So make changes if you can carefully to align better with the job description. However, in general, if you're applying for the same type of job, across 3 different companies, then you could develop one really strong resume with minor tweaks and submit it instead of changing the whole resume for each of them. Major information that needs to change: if you moved, your address is different, or your city, state, zip code, your phone number is different, your email address, or if you've had changes in employment or your educational background that you would like to share, right? So I now have a bachelor's degree, I want to put that on there, or I worked somewhere and I didn't update my resume since I started that previous position, I might want to include that. And for those who aren't making major changes to the resume, a cover letter really should offer a more in-depth explanation. That's really where you can create a narrative for the employer and be a little bit more detailed as to why you're a good fit for that company. So if I use the same type of resume for 3 different companies, but it's the same type of job, in the cover letter is really where I could establish that company fit. And we certainly have some resources to help you build great cover letters at the PA CareerLink. With that being said, we do encourage you to contact us. So we did do today's Wednesday Wisdom to help people prepare their resumes for the Luzerne County Job Fair on Tuesday, December 15th. To help you do that best, while you're always welcome to reach out to the local PA CareerLink office for resume assistance, we invite you to email your resume to info@careerlinkluzerne.org. Once again, that's email your resume to info@careerlinkluzerne.org by next Wednesday, December 9th, and we'll be happy to get you some feedback in time for the fair that Tuesday the 15th. You're always welcome to check out our new local office websites, which we're really proud of. They just got released. Whether if you're in Luzerne County, if you're in Hazelton, that's careerlinkhazelton.org. In Wilkes-Barre, if you're closer there, careerlinkwilkes-barre.org. And you can check out our virtual resource center where we have a lot of workshop videos, handouts that may be helpful to you. And of course, we want to remind you to register for the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair. And there's the website, LuzerneCountyJobs.vfairs.com, which brings me back to Ahmad, who's going to share with you how you can register simply and easily. So with that, we thank you for your time. I'm going to unshare my screen in just a moment. Please email us info@careerlinkluzerne.org if you'd like some feedback on your resume. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for joining us today, taking the time to share all that valuable information. I have to unmute. Give me a second. Awesome. Yes, a couple pointers a couple takeaways I have from that is one, I need to change my email from cookiemonster@gmail.com. And the other thing is I haven't updated my resume in 3 years, and a lot of different points and tips that are on there I know that is a representative of what my resume looks like, that I need to update it to include those things, is taking off some of the dates or just removing some of that prior history and stuff and have a more concise and chronological and bulleted points as opposed to paragraphs and listed out things. So thank you for sharing all that information with us. And thank you for PA CareerLink for offering to review anyone's resume that's uploaded and to info@pacareerlink.com. Is that the correct address?
Just to confirm, it's info@careerlinkluzerne.org. So anyone who has a resume in Luzerne County that wants to get it touched up, you want some feedback to do so before the fair, info@careerlinkluzerne.org. We'll be happy to get you some feedback. Please, though, if you want it in time for the fair, submit it by next Wednesday, December 9th.
Thank you. I was going to ask what a deadline would be for that. And the great folks at the PA CareerLink Luzerne County will get your resume in time for the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair on December 15th. I'm going to pull up the job fair site now and show you how to register for the job fair. Let me share my screen. So to access the job fair site and platform, all you do on any device is type in LuzerneCountyJobs.vfairs.com, and that will bring you to this website right here. And it contains all the information on the date, time. We will update this with a list of employers that will be participating, so you have an idea of employers that you want to target while going through the virtual platform. This is all being done virtually through the VFairs platform, and you will have the opportunity to upload your resume, talk with the employers directly, whether it's through chat, phone, or video chat, and any questions that you may have may be answered here. So please check this out. And if anything, you can always email me at ahmad@wyomingvalleychamber.org. So to go in and go ahead and get registered, please click the Register Now button, and here just fill out some information, being your name. I'm going to use the chamber. An email address, and this is very important because this is how you will get your login information for the day of the event website. We also have links to the how to create a great resume video and how to ace the interview, which will be coming up on next Wednesday with Brittany. And you'll also have an ability to check out some of the locations locally in Luzerne County that's offering on-site assistance with whether you need help with getting access to a computer or signing up for the job fair. You'll have the contact information on there, and you'll be directed to contact them and reserve a time slot that day. Here you can enter your phone number. And then your preferred method of contact, whether that's email or phone, the city you're located in, and then the state, of course, PA. And then here's where you can upload your resume. If you have your resume, it's already went through our folks at PA CareerLink and they've reviewed it, send you back your great resume that you helped create. Go ahead and upload it to the platform. Your best method of uploading that will be a PDF version. And if you need help converting a Word to a PDF, just a quick Google search and you can get it done that way. And then all you do is click register. And then you will get a registration confirmation email to the email that you submit for the job fair and containing the information on where you can find on-site locations to attend the job fair and also where you can get the links to view this recording of how to create a great resume and the recording for next Wednesday on how to ace the interview. Awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Again, I want to plug next Wednesday, Wednesday Wisdoms will be on acing the interview with Brittany Budman from the PA CareerLink Luzerne County. We will cover just the tips with professional attire. And being that this is done virtually as well as most interviews that we'll see going forward, you'll get some specific tips and tricks on acing a virtual interview. Brittany, do you want to give a little teaser on that before we sign off here today?
Let's see. We possibly have a TikTok video in the works for it. Some great tips and trends, dress code information, virtual interview information, which will be great for the virtual job fair.
Well
Thank
said.
you, Brittany. I am excited for next Wednesday. Again, the link to register for the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair is luzernecountyjob.vfairs.com.
For sure. And Ahmad, I was just going to share that some of these helpful websites, if you are watching this video live, we'll include them in the comments. So for easy access, including the VFair website, our local PA CareerLink office websites, if you're interested, we're happy to provide those resources. And we do hope to hear from you. So don't be shy. Send your email info@careerlinkluzerne.org. And I've been turning to the window. I feel like it was snowing today. So I hope everyone enjoyed a nice snowfall. I hope it wasn't a burden, but rather a joy to look at.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm excited to go outside and check that out. I just want to remind you that this will be uploaded on our YouTube page, and it will be live streamed and accessible through our Wilkes-Barre Chamber Facebook page. Please share it with anyone that you think will find this information relevant and valuable, especially if they're embarking on a new career choice, seeking a new career or a job in the upcoming week. Give them this information and share with them those links. It'll help them to create a better resume, to help them stand out to the 75 local employers here from Luzerne County that will be participating in the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair. We'll see you next week.
Just one last thought, for anyone who's watching this or may come across this video, know that in your job search, you are not alone. That this has been a very challenging time, and the PA CareerLink serves this exact purpose. We are here literally to help you find a job and to help our employers find talent. So do not be shy. Reach out to us. Let us, do what we can to support you in attaining a job that suits your needs and matches your interest.
Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We will see you next week, Wednesday at noon, for the Wednesday Wisdom How to Ace the interview with Brittany. And we will also look forward to seeing you at the Luzerne County Recovery Job Fair on December 15th. Please, again, share this with your friends, families, and anyone that's looking for new employment in today's world. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.